Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Monday, June 15th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Ball State game in 83 days, the game against Michigan in 167 days. We're sponsored today by our friends at Jeff Ruby's Columbus, proudly offering nationally acclaimed USDA prime steaks, seafood and sushi, impeccable service, live entertainment, and an attention to detail that is simply unmatched. Just go to jeffruby.com/Columbus or scan that convenient QR code on your screen right now to check out the menu and make a reservation today. All right, we have a real live breaking news show for you. Deontay Malone, a four-star cornerback out of Massillon, has committed to the Buckeyes. He was just visiting this weekend. I'm joined by Tony Gerdeman of BuckeyeInsiders.com. Tony, this is a really nice, solid addition for Tim Walton at the cornerback position for 2027.
Yeah, the first cornerback in the class, Deontay Malone, a guy that an Ohioan that you want to get, a talented three-way player, basically, a talented receiver, special teamer, and defensive back. Not unlike Gerdeman Conley, also from Massillon, Washington, who was a talented receiver and corner. In fact, you go back in those days, and Denzel Ward was the same way, and Marshawn Lattimore. And so it's interesting to see another talented and productive receiver, but also he is a viewed as a corner for sure, and one of the top guys in the state and in the Midwest at that position. So I guess a late start in terms of getting your first corner in the class, especially when there are two other corners in Ohio who have already committed elsewhere, but a good way to get the ball rolling.
For sure, yeah. This is a spot where they had some work to do to sort of round out the class. The 2027 class is already substantially sort of locked in, but corner, as you said, obviously an area where they needed to bring some guys in. This is a very good start for them. They have another guy visiting this weekend as well, another in-state corner who, not something that we're necessarily expecting to be doing a show in the next 30 minutes or so on another commitment, but certainly another name to know and another player who they could potentially bring in-state at that spot.
Yeah, Cincinnati Princeton's Montana Torbert, who I believe was previously committed to Indiana, decommitted, opened things back up. He's almost near top 100 player, a little maybe undersized, listed at 5'10" or so. That's why the commitment to Indiana and the 5'10", there were some comparisons to D'Angelo Pons there, but it looks like from the way programs are reacting, size isn't much of a concern there. They like his ability to hold up against whether it's in the slot or outside. So another one of the top players in state. And, you look at over the state of Ohio in the 2027 class, and there's a lot of guys going elsewhere. And so if you're in a position of need and you're looking for something, there are four corners in Ohio that are kind of national guys. And at this point, if the Buckeyes can get two of them, then I guess you'll have to take that.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad outcome. This is definitely a very good year for corners in the state of Ohio. The two guys who are committed elsewhere, one's going to Notre Dame, one's going to Penn State. So, the good news is you don't see Penn State every year now. You definitely don't see Notre Dame every year now. But the two guys if they can add those two guys in state, that would be a very, very good baseline for this corner class. You don't need to bring in four corners every year. So if you can bring in two solid ones, that's a really good one. And Deontay Malone, he seems like he sort of fits what they're looking for. 6 feet tall, playing at Massillon, Washington. That goes a long way because you're playing good competition, big school competition in Northeast Ohio. When you bring in a guy like that, he's camped at Ohio State. You've seen him in person, but you've also seen game film against good competition. That really sort of helps you know what you're getting.
Well, and this is also a guy that in his huddle highlights from last season, intercepted RJ Day, Ryan Day's son. And they make sure to let you know RJ Day at quarterback, Ryan Day's son. And so that's interesting. Certainly Ryan Day has seen him play, and maybe not in person because of the schedules, but as certainly, was watching on his phone on a bus or on a plane or something of that nature. And is like, who's this kid playing corner and making plays? And that's kind of what he is. He's a playmaker with the ball in his hand. And that's the kind of guy, that's kind of athlete. Those ball skills those are some things that you look for. where, like a Jalen McClain, he just finds the football. These corners that can just find the football, whether it's safety, corner, whatever. Defenders who can find the football, it's one other box that gets ticked for them.
Now, there is still plenty of work to do in this class. It feels like there's certain spots where they're in pretty good shape. You got 5 offensive linemen committed. 5 offensive linemen committed. And, if you can add another one, sure. But if you don't, that's not bad. You got a couple safeties in the class already. You got now 1 corner. You got a couple linebackers. You got a couple edges. You do need to, quarterback Brady Edmonds. That one's a little bit up in the air right now. We'll see how that shakes out and how that plays out. There's been obviously some conversation about him maybe flipping somewhere else. And are they going to go after Trey Taylor, the current Nebraska commit? That's a little bit up in the air. Also, running back. Did not mention a running back committed yet. David Gabriel George, the guy that we're kind of keeping an eye on there. He's committing on July 22nd. Yeah, what's the latest on him? Just because I know that's one where people are kind of always looking for a barometer on where things stand with him.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think both Ohio State and Tennessee feel good about it. Like, they've presented their strongest cases, and Ohio State feels good about where they stand. Tennessee feels good about what they can offer, and then it just becomes, what does David and his family, what do they prefer? I think based on everything that's being said right now, Tennessee has made a strong push, has made him feel like a priority. Not that Ohio State hasn't, because both schools you are their number one target. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes down, whether there has to be some, what kind of negotiations there are. The fact that with so many eggs in this basket, can either program afford to lose him? And then what does that mean that they have to do to make sure that they don't?
Yeah, that is one that whichever one of those programs does not get him, that is going to be a real tough blow for them. And I'm sure you will see continued pursuit from that July 22nd commitment until pen meets paper in early December. But that is definitely a commitment and a recruitment that we are going to be following very, very closely. And we will be following those at BuckeyeInsiders.com. That's where we've got a whole team coming together to cover the Buckeyes, cover recruiting, cover X's and O's. We're going to have a whole X's and O's show. We have another staff member to roll out tomorrow. You know all about Ross Fulton. On tomorrow's show, we're going to be welcoming in another new staff member at BuckeyeInsiders.com who's going to be talking about some of the creative things that Matt Patricia is doing on defense right now. And we'll have that on tomorrow's morning show for you. So that will do it for now. Thank you again to our friends at Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse, the award-winning upscale steakhouse in downtown Columbus, named one of the top 50 steakhouses in America by Food Network. Just go to jeffruby.com/Columbus to check out the menu and make a reservation today. That will do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.